Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading an Arlecchino listener by me, so let's get into it. The weak never have many choices. That was the first thing you've learned, and you were very weak when you started out, before you met her. And you met her due to your weakness. When you were assigned to spy on her, you had never really wanted the mission, but there weren't many choices that you had. And that's how you found yourself at an orphanage, not wanting to do anything with, and someone who was colder than ice itself. Arlecchino was a difficult person, but it was part of your mission to try and get close to her, to know everything about the house. And at first, it was only your mission that you were trying to fulfill, until other feelings developed. And now, you're also trying to fulfill your desires. You had no idea that it would last for so long, that eventually, she too would develop feelings for you, something that anyone else would have thought impossible. But here it was, feelings for the least deserving person of them, because you knew it, and you would always admit it. You did not deserve Arlecchino's affection, her protection, or her love. You were unworthy of it. But what choice did you have? What option were you given? The day it all goes wrong, you were only just heading back to your shared room with Arlecchino, the woman that you loved. Except, there was a heavy tension in the air. Something felt off, and you've been on edge for days, but you've tried your best to hide that, or ignore it. But Arlecchino's sharp eyes hardly ever miss anything, and you know she's been watching closely. She's always watching. And as you open the door to your room, the sight of her standing by the window makes your heart skip a beat. Her silhouette is dark against the pale moonlight, her arms crossed over her chest, her long silver hair flowing down her back, the strands catching the light in an ethereal way. She is the image of power and grace, but tonight there was something else to her, something closed off in her posture, something that made the room feel even colder than the winter outside. "You're late," Arlecchino says without turning around, her voice low and sharp. You swallow, forcing yourself to stay calm. She was probably worried about you, and that was all. You were just being paranoid. "I had a few things to take care of. I didn't want to disturb you." She hums, a sound that could mean just about anything. And then, she finally turns to face you, her eyes piercing through you like daggers, and you immediately averted your gaze. "Look at me." Her voice was dark, and you couldn't hesitate. There was that familiar authority in her voice, and you immediately looked at her. But you felt like her gaze alone could kill, like there was something in her eyes that she knew. Surely she did not. She couldn't have known. And if she did, surely it would not be today. "Arlecchino, love, is everything alright?" She took a step closer, her heels clicking against the wooden floor. She did not blink. She didn't shift her eyes away from you, as if waiting for something. An admission, a confession, a crack in your composure. I've given you enough time, Moyan. What do you mean? You're hiding something from me, and I want to know what it is. Your breath caught in your throat. How long had she known? You'd been careful, or at least you thought you had been. Every move, every word was calculated. But this was Arlecchino after all. You should have known. You should have guessed that eventually everything would come to light, and she would know, regardless of what you wanted. Arlecchino, I don't know what you're talking about. You replied, keeping your voice steady, although the lie felt like poison on your tongue. Her eyes narrowed, and in a flash, she was standing right before you, mere centimeters away. Her gloved hand reached out and grabbed your wrist. Firm, but not painful. Not yet. She leaned in close, her breath brushing against your cheek. I've given you time. I've given you trust. Do not lie to me any further. You swallowed thickly, the weight of her suspicion crashing over you like a wave. She knew. She must have known for a while, and there was no use pretending any longer. But still, the words stuck in your throat, like you could never get them out. You couldn't tell her that your entire relationship was built on lies, even though what might have flourished later was true. Everything would be gone. You couldn't get yourself to admit it, even if she already knew. Arlie, you began, but you faltered, and her grip tightened on your arm just slightly, enough to make you feel a little bit of pain. I know you're working against me, so enough for the lies. Do not insult me by denying it again. You looked into her eyes, searching for any of the softness that you were used to, of understanding. But all you saw was the cold, ruthless determination that made her who she was. She was the knave after all, and forgiveness was not a word in her book. Yet, there was something else there, something deeper, buried beneath the layers of cold calculation. Deep within Arlecchino's eyes, you saw hurt that you've caused. I didn't want it to come to this, you finally admitted, your voice barely above a whisper, and her eyes widened slightly, even though she knew. Perhaps she never thought she would actually hear it from you. But then, quickly, her expression hardened again. She let go of your wrist and took a step back, crossing her arms over her chest. So, who was it? Who sent you to me? She demanded, her tone sharp. And he looked away, guilt gnawing at you. Does it really matter? It matters to me. I want to know who I've been sharing my bed with. I want to know who's been whispering lies to me in the dark. Her words were cutting, and you couldn't help but wince, the weight of your betrayal crashing down on you. You never really wanted this. You never wanted to hurt her. But you had been trapped, pulled into a web of deceit that you couldn't escape. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I didn't choose this, Arlecchino. I didn't want to hurt you. She scoffed, though there was no real anger in it, just a better sort of disappointment. How sweet. But are you really sure of what you're saying? that you were not trying to hurt me with all that lying and manipulating. I'd rather you consider what you're saying, because right now, my patience for you runs thin. I had no choice. The words come out more forcefully than you intended. They just had something over me, and I couldn't just walk away. For a moment, there was silence, and there was a flicker of softness there. But perhaps you only imagined it. It disappeared as quickly as it came. And who are they? You hesitated, torn between the truth and the need to protect yourself. But you could not hide anymore, not from her. And so you told her the truth. You answered every single question that she's had. You told her everything she needed to know. Because right now, if you are going to lose her, you might as well do it while helping her. That was all you wanted. To make up for what you've done. And although there was no way to do that, you could at least pretend, if only to soothe yourself. By the end, she's not even looking at you. Perhaps too disgusted to look at you right now. You would not blame her if that were the case. Arlecchino, I never wanted to do this. I didn't have a choice. If I didn't do what they wanted, they would have. That's not how it works. There is never an excuse for betrayal. Never. And I'm sure you know the punishment. You nodded, and you couldn't help but cry. Arlie, I never wanted to lose you. I still don't want to lose you. She let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. Lose me? You've already lost me the moment you chose to lie. Her words stung, and you felt a sharp pang in your chest. You stepped forward, reaching out to her. But she glared at you, making you stop and freeze in your place. Don't you dare get close to me. You're lucky I have not decided to get rid of you right now. You nodded, your eyes welling with tears. Arlecchino, I love you. I really do. You love me, but apparently not enough not to betray me. So I'm not sure it matters much. And for a long moment, there was silence. Arlecchino stood there, watching you with that same unreadable expression, and you could feel the weight of her judgment bearing down on you. You will go now, and I never want to see you again. Is that clear? You nodded, although there were tears in your eyes, but there was nothing in there. Nothing in there for you at all. She no longer had any love for you. And it was already surprising that you would walk out of there alive. But as you left, you could only wonder, what meaning did your life have when your lover was not by your side?